Welcome to the 241st episode of News Dump, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news scene and discuss. I'm local man Aaron VanTuyl, joined by Chronicle editor Eric Schwartz, making his return to the podcast after a month off, damn near.
2 weeks. COVID nearly failed me, as did July 4th celebrations.
Oh, so now you believe in COVID.
I really think that they should look into shutting some things down. You know what I mean? I'm sick and tired of walking around Fuller's and seeing everybody's nasty face holes open, just spreading around the sickness.
Spread it directly to you.
Yeah. Ferguson needs to clamp down.
And so... And so naturally, once you had COVID, you went directly to Forks to spread it to there, correct?
No, I was symptomatic, asymptomatic by then.
Oh, right. You were immunized?
I was free and clear. I'm still hacking up stuff, though, like 2.5 weeks later. It was real.
Can't believe it finally got you.
I know. But you did a great job. Wonderful job.
Thank you. You didn't even listen, did you?
I listened to the first few minutes, and I couldn't stand the sound of this podcast without my own voice.
You know, our guests were fantastic. Hallie and Mackenzie were great. Chad was great for his quick spot. Very funny. But you know what? It's just not the same without you doing this.
Oh, that's nice of you.
I don't think anybody like Hallie and Mackenzie they just weren't in tune with the jokes quite as well as you might have been.
And you're saying they didn't offer you up courtesy laughs?
I think they just didn't know when the jokes were coming. Although I did a bad job delivering them too.
They're not what we were once called by a listener of the News Dump, if you recall. Earmuffs if you don't like to hear cursing, but remember that one time we got the hate mail that said, "I'm tired of listening to you two chuckle fucks." So they're not chuckle fucks. That was your problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you need at least one in the podcast room in order for your fastball to work.
You know, who doesn't like Letterman have the guy that sits off to the side and chuckles?
Oh, that's me? I'm the side guy? Come on. That's weak.
We're also joined in spirit by sponsors Summit Funding, Sheila's Outfitters, and The Roof Doctor. And we've got some preambles to start with. Festival update.
There was a lot going on over the weekend.
There was a lot. Cody partied up at Schwingfest, as did my mother. What were your impressions from Cody's Schwingfest photos?
It wasn't even just his photos. Cody wrote that up for us. I think it's probably our best Schwingfest coverage since the last time Cody covered it for us. He's an Adna boy, so a Highway 6 boy, as it were.
He's a Valley boy at heart, though.
Yeah.
I think. But I like for most, the first weekend of July means hot dogs and fireworks. But for the small Pacific County community of Francis, west of PL and the Lewis County line, it means sawdust, polka music, and plenty of beer.
Yeah, I told him I already knew there were a bunch of drunk sausage eaters out there. No, I liked his narrative. He has, by the 6th round, the day's 2 highest scoring Schwingers walked into the Sawdust Arena for the championship match. One was Peter Ming of Elk Grove, California, a recently graduated NCAA Division I heavyweight wrestler for Stanford. He placed 5th at the Pac-12 tournament.
Wow.
That was really cool. I didn't know we had that kind of pedigree at Schwingfest.
Oh, you were surprised that a Swiss gentleman could get into Stanford, were you?
Ming was considered by many the favorite of the event. The other was Morgan Lujan of Sacramento, California. And then he has interviews with each of them. After about 2 minutes in the title match, after a few unsuccessful takedown attempts, Lujan found just enough leverage to execute an over-the-shoulder throw known as the Schlaunk drop.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to Schlaunk drop you after this. In Swiss wrestling, in judo, they call it the sacrifice throw. Lujan said, "I was going down. I was about to lose again, so I had to pull that move." Where's the quote that I really liked? He said, with his hands,
one?
Yeah, with his hands on his head in disbelief, Lujan listened to the crowd cheer, realizing he had just won. Afterwards, I was like, "I can't believe it, bro. I felt like T-Pain," which I just thought was great. His other quote was, just about he thought he was going to lose, but I'm very glad I came. I'm not Swiss. I'm actually Mexican, so I'm very happy that all these Swiss dudes are so cool with me. They're all extremely welcoming.
Yeah. Sounds awesome.
Cody had a funny story from last year. He was there. There was a Swiss guy. Apparently some Swiss people show up from time to time to these things, some actual Swiss people. Mm-hmm. And Cody went up to him because there's a rock throwing contest, a stone throw, and he was like, "You going to throw that stone?" And he said the guy looked at him with dead eyes and was just like, "I throw man." So, yeah, Cody did a great job out there. I think that was my favorite thing in the paper the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Photos are great, too.
Very good. We also had Summerfest in Centralia. Brian Mitke got his literal day in the sun as the Grand Marshal of the parade.
I love to see that.
There's a picture of him. Where is it? There's a photo of him. Maybe it's not in here, but I saw him. Oh, yeah, there he is. Cruising down the street in a Dodge Challenger, it looks like.
I feel like Brian Mitke could be maybe the first. I don't know the history of Summerfest Grand Marshaldom, but he's young enough where he should be able to do it again. Like, this one's for his George Washington and Seminary Hill, but we all know Brian's not going to stop do-gooding.
No,
he's going to be doing a lot. I mean, like 20 years, they're going to want to do Brian Mitke again.
They're going to have the Brian Mitke Day at the Centralia Parade.
Yeah. He's not even a Centralia guy. That's the really impressive thing about this. His impact from beyond, from Haywire.
Is it time to let him know that our culture is not his costume?
Oh, no. Early nominee for People's Champ of the Week, though.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got Patriotism Powers PL 4th of July Parade.
I was just in it for the alliteration, as you can see.
They're
always patriotic out there.
Yeah, they've got a lot of kids getting candy, whatnot. Looks
Actually,
like fun.
They do patriotic parades every weekend. We just decided to go out for the 4th.
Thousands flock to Vader for Independence Day car show and fireworks display. Thousands in Vader?
Yeah, that's what I said. Owen went down there. He was there for most of the event, the car show and the fireworks, and he said thousands. I got to believe him. He's the reporter. We pay him the big bucks.
All right. And then Oakville celebrates Independence Day with parade, rodeo, and more.
Yeah, the only things we missed this year is we didn't make it out to Mossy Rock for the Freedom Festival, and we didn't make it to Packwood for the fireworks. So
is Freedom Festival the rebranded Blueberry Festival? Is just something different? They still do
Blueberry Festival.
Okay.
This one's strictly about their freedom to have the Blueberry Festival and other things.
For now,
yeah, sure. Actually, that could be under threat.
Well, we'll get to that story.
I don't know why I'm laughing. That's actually a very serious topic.
Any other preambles from you?
No, that's it. That'll do it.
News items. Green Hill School accused of forcing youth to urinate in plastic containers in cells amid overcrowding. 2 young men who are housed at the Green Hill School in Chehalis claim they were left to urinate in plastic receptacles in their cells amid overcrowding. They say the conditions violate state law and the U.S. Constitution, although I've got bad news for anyone citing the Constitution for pretty much anything these days. They were forced to urinate in plastic receptacles and use plastic bags while also being deprived of social and educational programming. One of the young men said this happens all the time. Greenhill and DCYF, which runs it, said they can't comment on pending litigation. They have a safe operational capacity of about 180 people, but it's usually more. In late April, the facility counted an institutional population of 230. And John Braun also had some comments, as he typically does in these matters.
As critical as you are of the GOP people, I think this is a good one to beat the drum on, and John Braun has been beating the drum on it now through 2 administrations. There's been some positive changes. You could ask if that had happened without the pressure, the high-level pressure. So I don't appreciate your pot shot at the senator there.
I'm not taking a pot shot at him for this.
But it's all about,
thing.
like you mentioned, it's all overcrowding, and we're still seeing symptoms of it in our police reports. I think last week or the week before, we had 4 or 5 Green Hill inmates for a variety of assaults, contraband. We're still seeing that. And I think you're going to see that in a juvenile detention facility no matter what, but the volume still seems to be up. We're not too far removed from the THC oil-filled burrito and whatnot. You start to line these things up, not 1 but 2 footballs loaded with drugs thrown over the side. We got the staffer who allowed the beat down on someone, the burrito full of stuff, the overdoses. Jeez.
Yeah, instead we should do something responsible, like build a, maybe a camp and surround it with alligators.
I don't know. It's lining itself up as like very good subject matter for like a prestige television show about juvenile detention life.
Like instead of Oz, it's Green Hill?
Yeah.
All right.
You can have that if you want. I know a screenwriter, so I might have something in production.
Next item, I don't have the update on this. Do you want to explain it to me?
And I just read and posted the update to this. Go ahead and do your notes, and then we'll talk about the updated story.
This is from the previous story. Lewis County commissioners will revisit, quote, non-sanctuary policy after first vote stalled. Alternate headline, submissive commissioner begs to be publicly dominated by diminutive Latina again.
Come on.
That's kind of what happened. Despite a first attempt that included a Centralia City Councilor imploring Commissioner Sean Swope to let it go, because the threat of being snatched outside of school by masked anonymous ICE agents was terrifying children.
You're talking about Adriana Garibay. You say city council, I feel like it's important to say also former illegal immigrant.
Yes. He's running it back anyway. He did they do a resolution today?
Yeah, they presented it again today.
Titled, Please President Trump, Just One Sip of Your Bathwater, Sir, was up for debate today. Swope saw footage of the way people are being treated across the country and just wanted to make sure anyone who isn't white in Lewis County knows that he hopes they get the same treatment. This is the kind of thing that even John McCroskey wrote about how pointless this is. Lib of the year, John McCroskey?
Lib of the year, yeah.
Because it's already state law. We do have a quote from Swope I felt was important. The one thing I've learned this year is that with every decision that you make, you're going to have people that are upset with that decision or be in favor of that decision. When it comes to something like this, there's no reason to create frustration among our community, or some people feel it's divisive or whatever, he said, noting that he wants to, quote, focus on the task at hand instead of on proclamations he felt don't carry any weight.
Mm-hmm.
This is from a December 2021 article about flags and Pride Month and things of that nature.
And it arose from the pride flag, right?
Yes. Clearly, he still feels that way. What happened today?
That's where I'm going to add a little counterbalance here. In Swope's view, which appears to be the view of the board, to get it out of the way, they voted unanimously to approve this resolution declaring that Lewis County is a non-sanctuary jurisdiction. This follows the federal government putting out a list that had almost every county in Washington and, of course, the state on a list of sanctuary jurisdictions, with the thought being that if you look at the rest of the federal landscape, the next move is to withhold funding due to the sanctuary status. They did vote unanimously. I know your criticism is highly centered on Swope, as it often is, but Lindsey Pollock...
You know, they're all cowards.
Lindsey Pollock
all
and
three of
Scott
them
Brummer
bullies.
Also voted in favor of this. Swope is adamant in saying that this doesn't really change anything, like you've said as well, both sides, I guess. And that it's just basically they're going to in his opinion, they're going to reconstruct this list, which was taken down because the National Sheriff's Association, a bunch of others, were upset and offended to be on the sanctuary list.
You're telling me the current federal administration made some sort of
But let me ask you
mistake?
this, because I know your view on the current administration. Share some of them. Do you think it's not outside the realm of possibility that they would look at something like this and actually take it into consideration when withdrawing funding? And wouldn't then this look like a kind of a common sense thing to do if the county ended up not on the list, ended up getting its $37 million in funding for various programs?
No,
it's an
'cause
honest
we're in
question. It's not a
Washington.
devil's advocate.
Do you think what about the current administration gives you the idea that they're going to look any further than the name of the state?
No, I mean, that's fair. I was asking for your opinion on that.
And also, I don't know if you've ever dealt with bullies before. Well, clearly you run Sean Swope's column, so you're sort of familiar with them. But they're not big on, like,
I got bad
subtlety
news for you, buddy.
And he's got another one coming?
No, but on that topic, Lindsey Pollock did express frustration despite the fact she voted in favor of it, that she has not received any response from the Office of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's office, that she's been reaching out independently, I guess, probably asking if this is something that would be helpful, and hasn't received anything back.
Surprise.
Yeah. And she also spoke with frustration in the haste is which it came. I was going to say that you can couch your opinion all you want, you vote for it at the end of the day. I don't really care too much about your reasoning, right? Is that how you would feel as a constituent who opposes this vehemently?
Yeah.
So it's why list the excuses if you're going to vote for it?
Yeah, if you're going to vote for it, just man up and be like, hey, like, we're doing this for a reason. Woman up, doctor up for it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a slap in the face to, there are plenty of hardworking, undocumented people in Lewis County. And you are basically saying, I hope you get fucked.
That's an interpretation. If you take it at value, he's trying to preserve that funding. And I actually think that you can't really predict what this federal government, what this Trump administration will do. And I don't see it outside the purview where if they did have statements like this, they might remove them. There were, 3 or 4 counties that weren't on the list to begin with, those that are currently tussling with the state.
Okay,
but
so
I could be wrong. I'm just throwing out possibilities here.
Okay, another possibility is that ICE just shows up and starts kidnapping brown kids from school.
Could be.
And so then how many of those kids have to get kidnapped before you say the $37 million wasn't worth it?
Oh, one. For me, personally,
Oh, okay.
if that's what you're asking.
Wow.
I didn't say it wasn't worth it anyways. I'm just trying to explain rather than have a one-sided
Sean
attack.
Swope would say they are worth it?
How
many children can you see get kidnapped? I mean, he's said before he's all about protecting children from things like library books and pride flags, education in general.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that in the news, even the left-wing news, as far as kids being snatched off the streets.
Counselor Garibay said it was a pretty big threat.
I think the kids were
worried
concerned that their adult family members would not return home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no chance of children being.
I'm not
thrown in
saying there's no
concentration
chance,
camps.
but that's like saying there's no chances. There's not gonna be like, come on, man. Like,
With
that's
this
like-
administration, anything, even if you
I'm
think
not
it's almost
arguing
a
in
further
favor.
out chance there.
I'm not-
they've already broken so many promises about this whole situation.
Sure, but I don't know how conducive it is to say. What if they went out and grabbed every single brown person in the world? Would you still support this, Eric? Like, I feel like that's the wrong way to.
Well, I mean,
approach
once
it.
you say that, like, you're getting into a debate of like how many are how many are 37 million worth.
What do you think the negative impacts are? Practical negative impacts. This resolution has been passed. The die has been cast. What should people worry about here locally that they didn't have to worry about yesterday?
Oh, we're all going to look even more like assholes because we have 3 of them representing us.
That's what what illegal immigrants should be concerned about. I'm asking, like, what changes for illegal immigrants in Lewis County from yesterday when we didn't have this resolution to today when we do.
They can be more concerned that the sheriff's office will help point them out to ICE.
There we go. That's one. The people in the meeting today listed potential racial profiling as one of the reasons. Let's see what else.
Well, that can't be true. I've been told up and down that Lewis County, there's not a single racist in town,
and
unless the
potentially
KKK shows up.
impede I don't know how you can have it both ways to say that this thing does nothing, but at the same time it does harm.
You can say they say it does nothing. I think it has a lot of potential to cause a lot more harm than good.
That's fair. I don't disagree with you. Honestly, I don't.
The commissioner's just going out of the way to be like, hey, we're going to kiss this bully's ass and hope that he notices us and doesn't bully us anymore. And guess what? He's going to.
I don't think that's an unfair characterization, at least from your point of view.
And it's also extremely just disrespectful to a lot of people in, like, I don't know if you've checked, but there are some people in Lewis County who aren't white.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. Centralia specifically, Mossy Rock also has a high population.
For now.
Yeah, I don't like anyone to ever be scared, ever. I don't like to see anyone be a victim when they're doing the right thing for the most part. I hate that. I really do. So I also resent, like, the emergence. I mean, it's always been there. There's always been a little bit of this, but, like, there's, like, joy in it for a lot get.
Yeah, that's what I don't get.
In terms of, you'll see coverage on Facebook or wherever there's a reaction allowed, and it's like landscaper grabbed, taken away. The example, I think somebody brought it up here, was the landscaper with 3 Marine sons who was grabbed up while doing landscaping. I hate that. I really do.
And look, there's not a direct correlation. You can't say it's going to happen here tomorrow, but what you're doing is endorsing that and giving voice to that sentiment.
I guess
by passing this.
If I were to offer an opinion, I don't think it does anything. I don't think it does either.
At the end of the day, I don't think it does. But I also expect our elected leaders to lead and to be, even if it might not be popular with 100% of the county, to just think for a moment and think about doing the right thing by citizens of the county that it would actually impact.
It seems like you would be most disappointed in Pollock in this one.
Yeah, I am disappointed in Pollock.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe there was some backroom dealing, and Swope's going to vote on something she wants to do that he doesn't approve. Like, I don't know.
Are you suggesting that
feed
sort of thing
children
happens
or
in
something?
commissioners' offices?
I'm sure they do. County commissioners, yeah.
I've heard some things, not in this county, but I have heard some things.
Anyway, this was a stupid waste of time, and the 3 people that voted for it shouldn't have.
We do have.
Well, let's not leave Brummer out here either. I haven't said anything bad about him.
Go for it. He's
what
fresh off his Europe trip, man.
He's back from Europe, and he's like, boy, you know what I saw in Europe? Brown folks, and boy, let's get rid of them.
I choose to believe it's not coming from a place of racism or hate. I'd rather choose ignorance if that was on the table, or posturing if that was there. But I don't think it's hate. I really don't think it's hate.
Seeing this just makes you wonder, like, if 50.1% of Lewis County approved of something absolutely horrible, do you think Sean Swope would do it?
I don't know.
Like, if you told him, hey, 50.1% of Lewis County thinks it'd be really cool if you drop this disabled child down a well. Like, how many minutes do you think it'd be before that child was crying at the bottom of a well?
I don't think that's
3
true
or
at
4?
all. I think you have a very different opinion of Swope than I do.
The disabled child is brown.
I don't believe that at all.
I was just leaving him there for ICE.
I do think the commissioners in all 3 cases vote their beliefs and what they think, and like I said, I don't think any of it's hateful. I really don't. But it can be perceived as such. It can be perceived as such. But I don't think that Sean is going like, how can I mess with the Hispanics today? Like, I don't think that that's what's happening. And I will say, in the very off chance the next list comes out and Lewis County's sitting there with Adams County and the ones that aren't on the non-sanctuary list, then you're going to have to admit that it did do something.
What did it do?
Then $37 million in funding coming
that
through.
funding's never coming
But
anyway.
I also do dislike that. I hate the fact that the federal government's being run like a mafia operation right now. I don't like that, but is what it is, right?
Sure. I don't know. Anyway, you want to talk about poplar trees?
I don't know. I was afraid when I try to provide some counterbalance to you, Aaron. That's all. You go pretty hard in the paint.
Well, you know what? It pisses me off.
I'm just doing a little hack-a-shack.
You try to fucking slow me down all you want, man. Poplar tree farm harvest underway along State Route 6 in Chehalis.
What
And
a
you know this
segue.
is true because Chehalis wastewater superintendent Justin Phelps
Are you a fan? I think I met him before.
confirmed it. Yeah, we met him at You met him at... God, that really goes. Met him at Kilgore's wedding.
That's right.
The poplar trees are harvested every 10 to 15 years to make paper. The farm is divided into 11 units, where 1 to 2 units are watered at a time and planted with 9 different varieties of hybrids. I thought that was... I learned a little something about the farm out there.
I did as well, and I think it's because we only get the opportunity to do that every 10 to 15 years when they harvest it, and some reporters like, oh, what the hell's going on? They're cutting down the trees over there, and then we all relearn again what the poplar tree farm is and why it's there.
You should send Cody out there to hang out with Phelps and take a look at it.
Cody was out there today. He got some
All
photos and some video. They'll be up on Facebook a little bit later today.
I can see Cody and Justin Phelps getting along pretty well.
I was trying to look in the archives for fun stuff on the poplar farm, but I recalled that the last time it was in the news was when it was changed from the poplar tree plantation to the poplar tree farm in the aftermath of George Floyd.
Don't give Sean Swope any ideas.
I'm just saying. Change it back. No, I'm just joking. Totally joking. That was the last time it popped up, though, and it's kind of, it's such a prominent local thing that so many people drive by, you'd think it'd make the news more. Before that, it made the news because there was some criminal trying to hide in there while he was running from the cops.
That would be an extremely trippy place to try to run from
Very
the cops.
cinematic.
Very cinematic.
Yeah.
And they're also like laid out in such a grid.
Yeah, and you got all the colors and the leaves and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be really good. Martin Scorsese could do a hell of a job with that.
God. Can
Just
you imagine
bark and
like,
leaves flying?
Can you imagine gunning down a criminal through those trees?
It's Leo DiCaprio. I'd watch that.
The end of Heat, but it's at the poplar tree farm.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. All right, and then the last thing I've got in the news section is Shayla
Of all
Centralia.
things, this is your
Chamber of
top news
Commerce Microbyte Learning Center presents 2 sessions, delivering bad news and de-escalation tactics. And after our discussion we just had,
You're gonna bring it back, aren't you?
Maybe we should go to this.
Yeah, we should.
We deliver bad news, or at least deliver the news badly. Anyway, what else is in the news that I've missed?
We talked about the 4th of July celebrations, which we covered extensively. We also covered the second No Kings protest, which was on the 4th of July. We had a detractor, a letter to the editor writer, who thought that protesting on sacred patriotic holidays is disrespectful because the last one was on Flag Day, the letter writer said.
What is the 4th of July celebration?
I thought it was you won't find me stepping on that. I'm a big fan of all things protest, and it's very American. There's a good quote in there from an attendee of it as well, but they had a pretty good crowd. It wasn't as big as their last one. It was in downtown Centralia, but quite a few. And then they had another group that was up on the freeway, up on Chamberway, I think, holding up some signs as well. It's a good exercise. I thought it was a perfectly fine thing to do on the 4th of July.
Yeah, get out and protest.
Yeah,
what do you
home.
think the fireworks represent?
Blow your fingers off?
Yeah. Did we have any reports of people losing fingers? On 4th of July?
There were 15, I think, fireworks-related calls is the most info I got, and that was offered up without question from the Riverside Fire Authority. They just sent an email. I know in Aberdeen, they had a heck of a time, as you might imagine, on the 4th of July. 6-year-old boy damaged his face and eyes, and then a guy in his 20s, I think, got airlifted from fireworks. Yeah. I'm sure it was happening all around, though. I'm sure we missed some of them.
Is that why Winlock residents are looking to expand the number of American flags at entrances to this? How many do they currently have?
20, I think. They want more.
50,000 American flags.
No, they got 20, and they want more. It's just a group of patriotic people. I know it makes you mad, Aaron. I know you hate this country.
It doesn't make me mad. I love this country. That's why I'm so upset.
Aaron's waving a Mexican flag in the air right now, and what was that? Something about ACAB? ACAB? What is that? I don't even know what that stands for, man.
I said nothing. Let's see. We got the PL man in a later section. Got the poplar
You
tree.
could do a rundown of the news
Yeah,
at
we'll
the
get
end.
to
I mean,
the
you did a
end.
very poor job of picking the headlines this week.
I think I picked all the headlines that matter.
Hi,
Let's
this
go
is
to
Jeff and Julie from Fairway Lanes.
Jeff and I met Jasic of Summit Funding at our bowling center, so when we fell in love with this community and it was time to relocate, we knew we would be calling Summit Funding.
They understand that everyone has a unique situation when buying a home.
He had already helped 2 of our employees get into their own homes. The Summit Funding team exceeded our expectations. It was a seamless experience with great communication from his whole team.
Thank you to Summit Funding for making our buying experience special and memorable.
All right, we're back. Time for segments, and first up is Tales from the Takes page. We've got a column from Julie McDonald, romance author and WF West alum, to keynote Writers Conference, Evening with Authors. One of the authors is, God, what's his name? Patrick Hutchison?
I think that's right.
He wrote the Cabin book. I have. It's pretty good.
Is it a good book?
Yeah,
He was
I've got
on. He made it to the Today Show to talk about it.
It's just a guy that buys a cabin, and it's about him and his clueless buddies fixing it up.
Yeah, apparently he did a really nice job.
I bought it before I knew he was from Chehalis.
Julie McDonald puts together that whole Southwest Washington Writers Conference. She would probably say other people help, and I'm sure they do. But there's a link for that conference to sign up for it at the end. I have I've taken part in that in past years, offering up freelancing tips.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Did you just hand your business card out?
No, she put me down at the end of the hall with Lewis Talk, and you could come out and talk to us.
Uh-huh.
So the company was poor, but the attendees were great.
Sounds pretty cool.
The Lewis Talk people were like, "Hey, give me $50."
And the other column I've got is Brian Mitke, an example for the future, from Centralia's founder, and he talks about George Washington. And this was hot in the comments with somebody claiming we don't talk about George Washington Carver enough. And I was like, isn't that the peanut guy?
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't really have a Centralia tie that I know about.
Well, he thought this George Washington was George Washington Carver.
I see. Were people helping him, guiding him respectfully?
They were dunking on him because he was a fool. So Mickey writes, as a divided America hits the quarter millennium mark, we have a strong example in Centralia's founder, George Washington, to lead us to an ever more perfect union, one neighbor at a time.
Oh, hell yeah.
As long as that neighbor has his papers on him.
Oh, Mickey throwing heat. Yeah, that's...
I added that last
That
one.
column could otherwise be titled, I didn't tell Brian Mitke about the 4th of July deadline being a day early, so he submitted this on the 4th of July, and I had to rush home and post it in order to preserve its timeliness.
No.
So I went with an example for the future of Centralia's founder
Yeah,
instead.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, Mitke did good.
I don't have anything else from the...
You don't even want to mention John Brown's latest column? No one likes gas tax, but it isn't the main driver of our high fuel prices. You know what it is?
Democrats.
The Dems! You could have easily changed this headline to "No one likes Zyn tax, but it isn't the main driver of our nicotine prices." You know who the main driver is? Also the Dems.
You know who else has hands? The Democrats, and they use them for holding. What else is...
Well, I liked this letter. You might have talked about it last week. I don't know. In appreciation of our Cowlitz River rescuers. I always love letters that are just like telling us about something that happened. In this one, they had gone out to kayak on the Blue Creek boat landing outside of Toledo on the Cowlitz River. Got into some trouble, but Reese Wallace of Wallace Waters Fishing Guide Service was right there.
I know Reese.
You know Reese?
Yeah, he was a hell of a point guard for Toledo 10 or so years ago.
He's a hell of a guy on the river, too, because he and his fisher buddies plucked this letter writer and her husband out of the river, rescued them, and rescued a friend, and then brought them back. No charge.
Hell yeah. That's Reese Wallace for you. Nice dude.
It was just a really good letter to the editor. That was from Kathy Demarest in Kelso.
Oh, okay.
And then, let's see. That's the long and short of it. We've got good letters. I feel like we're pacing ourselves. A lot of times I let letters stack up, and then we just dump them all at once. Just been having a nice steady flow. We'll have about 4 or 5 more in tomorrow's paper.
I liked letter to the editor reclaiming our quiet streets from ATV chaos.
Yeah.
This got dunked on.
I know.
On Facebook.
It was a well-written letter. I kind of felt like I was leading the lamb to slaughter when I posted that one on Facebook. Completely reasonable concern to not want like children riding around your property on ATVs and getting in the road and causing wrecks and maybe harming themselves and things. But
yeah.
I don't think the commissioners will be taking this one up, however.
It's time for the Lewis County Commissioners to admit this policy was a mistake. Oh, yeah, sure. Uh-huh.
Oh,
Good
come
luck.
on.
Yeah, that's all we got from Tales from the Takes page. A new segment, History Should Repeat Itself. I pulled a few things out of this one. A look back in time. Morton Mears sold to new publisher.
That's a good name for a newspaper because we have the Reflector.
Yeah.
Spelled incorrectly.
Because it reflects the views of the community.
Reflector.
But I liked this one in the Tuesday, July 6, 1965 edition. It was reported that 71-year-old Centralia resident Floyd Dougherty was in no hurry when he was arrested for driving without a license and driving at an estimated 5 miles an hour, causing traffic to back up for blocks on Harrison Avenue.
I mean, you could be known in throughout history for worse crimes than just being slow.
I guess. And then from 1955, while recent rains had hit Lewis County, farmers were divided as to how they felt about them. Quote, those with hay down, and nearly 50% of our early grass hay was cut, were very unhappy. Those that didn't have hay cut were well pleased.
That's some damn fine reporting.
We
need more of that.
I like the Chronicle just wrote a story about like, some people had hay down, it rained. We better call the Farm Bureau. Mm-hmm. Get a quote. People's Champion of the Week. You'll like both of these. Body cam video shows Centralia police officer board boat and jump on beaver dam to apprehend suspect. I thought that was cool. It was Dieter Vogtberg.
Mm-hmm. That was fantastic. And as many of the commenters said, his cardio is to be lifted as an example to all of us with him running across that field, like dead sprint. He's running past the troopers, and you can tell they're getting winded, and he's just like passing each of them as he goes. And then he gets to the river, and I fully expected to be like, suspect in the river. And he's just very calmly, suspect in the river.
Yeah. He's, I think he was a cross-country kid.
If you're going to make him never mind, Sirens Banger of the Week. I thought we were on here. Oh, we are on Champion of the Week. You got to also throw Stanley Combs in there, the guy who loaned the boat.
Oh, yeah. And then I've also got Chehalis Police Sergeant retires after 36 years in law enforcement. This is Bruce Thompson.
Yeah. I didn't know he was former police chief in Toledo, but yeah, he spent the last chunk of his career in Chehalis. This was one of like 5 retirement stories that reporter Dylan Rubin King has done in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. We had Ashmore, we had Gebhardt, we had, this one. Gosh, I'm forgetting others though. There were others, trust me. Yeah, and he has another one coming tomorrow, or maybe in Saturday's edition. You might know this one because I think it's an Adna person. Retirement of Mike Raschke.
Oh, crazy Mike Raschke. Calling her quits, huh?
From Feral Gas.
Yeah,
so I know
this
Mike Raschke. That category. I love it when we have some of these like non-public service retirements that we can celebrate.
Mike Raschke is an institution in Adna. He was the softball coach before Puck.
I'm hoping to have a really good story.
Won a state championship or 2 himself, you see.
Oh, flexing on your sports knowledge, are we?
I grew up down the road from Mike Raschke. I've known him for, 40 years.
So you're going to look forward to the story then. A possible People's Champion of the Week for next week.
I think it's already guaranteed he'll be the People's Champion of the Week.
I'm told that we got official statistics from Feral Gas on his career, and I'm really looking forward to getting those.
Can't wait to get those. So, yeah. The Roof Doctor.
Yeah.
I don't have a good segue.
Got nothing for it, huh?
Is your roof under the weather? How's the roof on our new building look? You been up there yet?
Chad has big plans for solar on that roof.
Really?
Yeah, he's thinking about it.
He should place a call to 360-623-7094 or 736-0246 and talk to the Roof Doctor, because I don't know if you knew this. They do solar.
It'll shock you, but Chad has mentioned trying to make it a zero emissions building.
That does kind of shock me.
Yeah. But it's because he cares about the environment, you see.
That's good. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Plenty of hot air coming out of this room.
It is actually very hot in this room, but I see what joke you were making.
It's warm. It's not bad.
Are you sick of electricity bills always on the rise? Switching your home to solar power may be just a prescription you need. Solar panel installation by the Roof Doctor can help save you money while reducing your dependence on the grid and your impact on the environment. Both things that matter very much to this podcast and to this company, I would like to think. Call the Roof Doctor or visit theroofdoctor.com/solar-services to learn more. And then, what else do we have? Sirens Banger of the Week?
Sure.
PL man with 35 prior arrest warrants charged with unlawful possession of firearm and possession of a stolen firearm. This is Johnny Isaacson, 33 years old. He had 3 active warrants at the time of the incident and a history of 35 priors. Bail was set at $100,000 for a defendant that prosecuting attorney Jonathan Myers said just does not get it, citing his history. So the sheriff's office basically heard he was home and went to get him, and he ran away, leaving a trail of loaded stolen guns and meth in his wake.
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
35 prior arrest warrants.
I like the little wrinkle of the Meyer quote there. He just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
He just doesn't get it.
I agree.
Maybe 36 or 37 will do it. Another one that we had up that I would not call Sirens Banger of the Week, but and I wouldn't even call it interesting, kind of scary story. Do you remember the guy we had in Winlock last year who was caught in the forest with binoculars and a backpack?
Was it that long ago? I felt like it was.
Or maybe it was in
last year.
January. Maybe it was in earlier this year. Anyways, he was arrested for doing the exact same thing again. Apparently, he comes around and stalks his ex-wife on holidays. And this one was around Father's Day. And she has cameras set up now because obviously this is a dangerous situation. They found him again in about the similar spots, backpack, binoculars, camo. This time he was on camera and they were able to arrest him, but they set bail at $1 million this time, which sounds appropriate. Speaking of Meyer quotes, he had one in this one that was basically, not basically, he said, quote, "We are concerned that we are going to be responding to a homicide scene if this defendant is let out of jail." And that's Superior Court Judge Jolie Yeager set the bail at $1 million, which seems appropriate.
Yeah, I'd keep him locked up. The only other one I had for a Sirens Banger was the driver arrested at Winlock for identity theft after climbing into the backseat and claiming to be someone else. This is Paul King. He was driving into Winlock. They knew he had a suspended license and pulled him over. The cop saw someone moving in the car, and when he got there, he saw the driver had climbed into the back seat and claimed the passengers were driving. He finally admitted to being the driver, but gave the wrong name. Eventually, he admitted who he was. So that old trick doesn't work.
I don't think it does.
Well, you know what? You can't blame him for trying. But you can't blame him for lying to an officer. Shales Outfitters?
Yeah, they're on their last day of their 4th of July sale tomorrow, or depending on when this podcast goes up, on Wednesday, July 9th is the last day. You can still get 25% off Skechers, 30% off sandals and flip-flops, 25% off Keen footwear, 20% off all Intex products. Buy one, get one free pool candy. I don't know what pool candy is.
I don't either.
Candy for when you're in the pool?
Sounds sick.
You don't even have a pool. I guess you
No.
can come eat candy in my pool if you really wanted to, since
what are
I
you
have one
trying
of
to-
those.
What are you trying to get up
20%
to?
off all Akuma rods and reels. And then I imagine that the Thursday edition of the Chronicle will probably have their next sale. If not, they don't ever go without a sale. The other fun thing out of Shales Outfitters is they had another alleged thief caught in the act yesterday.
Oh, I did see that.
They definitely took his photograph. It looks like he posed and smiled for the photograph. He wandered in, put on a pair of brand new $110 size 9 Romeos. A little too big a shoe for you, or I'd suspect it was you. Sharp-eyed shoe department spotted him at the gun counter, now magically wearing the new pair, and then they caught him. I heard this go out on the scanner yesterday. The Shales police went over and talked to him. I'm not sure if he was cited, gave the shoes back, or what. Just another reminder, if you're going to steal, and we highly suggest you don't steal, don't do it at Shales Outfitters because they're going to embarrass you and dunk on you.
They will.
And the Chronicle will probably share it. Shales Outfitters is a valued sponsor.
In your own community, on Facebook, in front of all your friends.
I mean, the last time they did it, it ended up being like a Domino's pizza manager who went back to their job after doing the crime.
Yeah.
And was responding in the comments.
It's like, I'll be over there after my shift.
Sometimes you just got to post through it.
Facebook comments of the week.
I was hoping no, but do you got some?
On Cody's Schwingfest stuff, this commenter says, great picks and article, Cody.
It was a great pick.
I agree.
He did a really nice job. Gonna miss that boy.
On a letter about Swope's latest attention grab, this commenter says, it will help weed out fraudulent people who are using taxpayers' dollars for survival in Lewis County. Bring on ICE. Buddy, there's only one fraud using taxpayer dollars to survive, and he called this meeting. And then somebody else was replying to a comment and said, ha, quote, I'm a free thinker and my outlaw ancestors didn't travel thousands of miles for me to live among immigrants. So in the spirit of rebellion, I support aiding the federal government. I know I've asked before, but do you actually read what you write or do you find out that you drift in and out? It was a good burn. Let's see.
Surely there were no comments supportive of the commissioner.
I just read one. The guy who wants to help weed out fraudulent people using
guess that's
taxpayer
fair.
dollars for survival. Which, again, like, that isn't happening. There's all these claims now that we need to revamp Medicaid because illegal immigrants are taking it. That's not.
No,
that isn't real.
there are states that are providing Medicaid coverage to illegal immigrants.
Yes,
That's
then
a fact.
it's not illegal if states are providing it. These people
Well,
are
the
assuming
federal
there's all
government
these,
would say it was illegal. The current federal government.
but this assumption that we can somehow increase ISIS budget by $100 billion.
No,
and
that's
need
a
to
different
do-
conversation.
None of it makes any sense.
Just saying, don't say it doesn't exist. It is a thing.
When was the last time any one person was arrested for Medicaid fraud, for fraudulently enrolling in Medicaid and receiving
Well, the
benefits?
Centralia School District was fined for it about 10 years ago due to some fine reporting by the Chronicle.
For Medicaid fraud?
I think so, or Medicare. Can't remember which one.
Well, Medicare's for retirees.
Medicaid, then.
I
You don't remember that?
no.
Neil Kirby helping us out? Man, you have a short memory. No wonder your takes are so cold.
I
You want to hear what else is in the news?
no. I want to finish my Facebook comments of the week.
All right.
On a story about fireworks starting fires. This commenter says, fireworks don't start fires, people do. If we outlaw fireworks, then only the outlaws will have fireworks. Good bit of satire. And a story about Chinese students attending the University of Washington. People should understand that most of these students have families back home and they are forced to spy or their family will suffer. Why do you think they always stay together in groups? Where are you at on the Chinese spies?
I
at the
didn't know about
University
the
of
why do they always
Washington?
stay together in groups. I think spycraft, that's real. I'm sure we have a lot of spies in Chinese universities as well.
I'm sure we do. And then I tagged a whole thread from a story about whooping cough cases.
Oh boy.
This commenter says, over 10,000 cases a year and less than 10 deaths occur. Cases like this are the ones you hear about so that you get vaccinated out of fear. That's all they do for every single disease. If there's 10,000 cases a year and less than 10 deaths, don't you think maybe the vaccines helped?
Yeah.
Not according to this person who would like you to buy a dog from her. And guess what? The dog already has rabies.
Sounds like the next health secretary.
Or the next Secretary of Homeland
Surgeon
Security.
General, perhaps.
Let's see. I don't know. Those were all my.
What's your
Facebook
email
comments of the
dump
week.
here? Is that old?
That's from a week or two ago, but we didn't get to it on the mic.
Email dump. Congratulations on the move to a new building. As a listener, I have a few questions. Does the new building have a door to China Creek? No. Could one be installed? We'd have to do a tunnel first. It's a little farther away. We'd have to go under Magnolia there.
Go on.
Will the ghost be moving with the staff? I like to think so.
Well, it'll be there.
I like to think we're going to meet like a new banker ghost over there.
You're overdrawn.
Overdraft fees. Will this new location have a clear view of any potential tire piles? I don't think so. I do know that there's a spot behind the bank where, while I eat my lunch in the parking lot, which you've given me a lot of hard time for, people like to gather there and smoke some sort of substance
Sounds cool.
about midday. It looks like a book club, but for fentanyl. And they show up there and smoke in the bushes.
How do you know what fentanyl looks like?
I don't know it's fentanyl. I know they go into these bushes and I just see smoke going up in the middle and then they all depart their separate ways. I've seen it 3 times.
Maybe they're
It's a
sending
meeting.
signals.
I thought about just showing up one time, just to see what they're doing. Hello, fellow residents.
Oh, I'm late for the fentanyl meeting.
So can I go through some other headlines?
Sure.
USGS, hundreds of earthquakes detected at Mount Rainier. I thought this would be the usual, like, nothing to worry about, but then I read the story, and it turns out your mom's up there.
Why would you say that?
I'm sorry.
You were just at a retirement party.
I mean, it was just a generic your mom. It's like not your actual mom, because I would never speak ill of Carmen. It was more by way of insult. Pop business burglary pursuit result in car fire in Thurston County. Sheriff says that was an Olympian story today, but it happened this morning. They showed up to a pot burglary and 2 cars split off. One of them went to the north and escaped, and the other one fled to U.S. Highway 101, where it promptly crashed and caught on fire. Sanders is quoting and said, "You could see the cannabis burning as the fire burned." In the backseat."
Man.
I know, true tragedy. Lewis County Autism Coalition announces grand opening for the Spectrum and Development Community Center in Appavine. That's a pretty
Sounds good.
cool story. It's mostly just a news release, but it's there. Winlock residents expand number of American flags. They're raising money. It looks like they're pretty close to their goal to get more flags. They just want to have. You're just going to hate Winlock. You're just going to have to drive
I
around
don't
it.
hate American flags.
You
I
hate America and our country.
I do not.
Lewis County Coffee Company's The Creamery to celebrate 1 year anniversary with free mini cones. I have this problem where in June and July, I accidentally write June when I meant July, and I did this originally when I posted the story, but it is this Friday, July 11th, 3 to 5. You can get free mini cones. There's also going to be a balloon artist, a face painter, photo booth, a merch trailer will be there. You can go get some
Have you ever
Lewis
had
Guy
your
coffee
face
stuff.
painted?
No, I don't think
Neither
so.
have I.
I would do it for
never
like a
appealed to me.
sporting event, you know?
It just never appealed to me.
Yeah, West Thurston Fire, Partners Halt brush fire before it can reach homes. There's some good photos there as well showing it came right up to the doorstep to a bunch of houses. This is just south of Little Rock. What else we got? They're thinking about fining foreign adding a fee to visits to national parks by foreign visitors. What do you think about that?
I think we're already cutting down on the number of foreign visitors, and that's certainly not that's going to be a much smaller number than any federal estimate will tell you.
They said it could generate millions of dollars.
Yeah, it could have when we had foreign visitors.
You think we don't have foreign visitors?
I don't think we are going to have nearly enough.
I wish I had your
as
worldview.
many-
You look and you see like something negative, and then you move the dial all the way up as far as you can, and be like, no, it's not that we have less foreign visitors. We have none now. And it's not that the different parties in power. It's that democracy has fallen.
International tourism to the United States is experiencing a significant decline in 2025.
No, that's true. But it doesn't mean there's no foreign visitors.
No, my point is that number was established using data from, like, it's a government agency. They established that number. Where did the number come from?
I don't know.
Okay, well, it came from
I didn't
the
read the
federal
story either.
government
I just
who is
posted it. What do
proposing
you think I read everything that
this
goes
new
up?
thing, and they're using data from before they got into power and changed all these things. And so they're using that to be like, look at how much money we can make off this. We had 1 billion foreign visitors last year, and so this will generate $10 billion, when in reality, that number is dropping, and so the estimate will also drop. And so they just tout it as a headline, and people be like, well, look at this great new revenue stream we've got.
I would implore all listeners to go read the story and actually get information that is relevant and not just us ranting.
Wait, is that based on a press release from the White House?
It's a States newsroom story from Micah Drew. Are you going to insult Micah Drew?
No, I'm
Is
not.
that what you got going on here?
I'd love to see his
You
sources.
want to insult the States newsroom?
I would
Got a
love
problem
to.
with it?
Yes.
You want to talk to Jerry Cornfield?
I will call
You want to tell Jerry Cornfield to his face?
Hey, Jerry.
You're trash.
I would never say that to Jerry Cornfield.
No one would. It's just not true. Jerry Cornfield's a treasure. Let's see. Adam Craig's going to headline the first outdoor concerts at Tenino Ag Park this Friday and Saturday. Go get a ticket to that. Yeah, that's the high and lows of it. I've been gone for 2 weeks, so I just assume you've missed all of the headlines. And
I've been reading the news religiously and just podcasting by myself at home, just practicing.
yeah, that's kind of what I assumed.
Anything else?
No, that'll do. We'll have
What are the festivals this week?
Cheese Days, I think, is this weekend. We're going to have
All
a
right.
preview on that. If I'm wrong, it's the following weekend, but I'm pretty sure it's this weekend. Owen went down to their council meeting to talk to them and put together a preview. You going to go to Cheese Days?
Probably not.
No.
I don't think I've ever been, actually.
I've been there. I sampled the cheese sandwich.
How was it?
I sampled it.
Uh-huh.
I don't wish to speak ill of
Would you eat
Toledo.
it alone in a parking lot on your lunch break?
I didn't eat it when I got it there. I mean,
Okay.
it's a slab of cheese on bread, man.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It could use some extra. It could use some accompaniment. That's all I mean.
Do they slap any mayo on there?
I don't know. Just bring your own like George Foreman grill or something, so you can make a grilled cheese at least. That would be my advice.
All right.
Yeah, we have lots of other stuff too, but you can pick up a Thursday edition.
Speaking of grills, do you remember when Matt and Lars worked here and they went to cover something and stayed in a hotel together, and they came back and Lars wanted to file like a L&I claim because he injured himself? And I was like, well, what happened? And he's like, well, I burned my hand pretty bad. And I was like, well, how? And he's like, well, I was making a waffle at the breakfast bar and it got me. And I was like, no, you can't file a claim.
I
for
do
that.
remember that now that you say it.
Oh, that was fun.
Lars, I wonder what he's doing these days. I wonder what Matt's doing these days.
Yeah, who would ever know?
We'll never know.
He got engaged.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. In closing, we're sponsored by Summit Funding, Shales Outfitters, and The Roof Doctor. Leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts if you want, or send us an email at chroniclenewsdump@gmail.com.